think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Anyway, he's using AI to make rap songs about farts.
Yeah.
And it's going really well.
Wow.
And then that brought up a conversation on my way home from work today that was actually like, if you leave this open source, and let's say for argument's sake this thing learns, and you just like expose it to every dumbass with an IQ of 67 and internet trolls, like does this get worse over time?
I've seen stuff to that effect, actually, that ChatGPT is getting dumber as it goes.
Perfection. So it's just becoming human.
It's one of us.
So it is truly AI.
It's because the output of ChatGPT is getting incorporated into the input of ChatGPT, so it's like a negative feedback loop.
Oh my god! It's like when they like grind up cows and like feed them back and they get mad cow disease.
Yeah. So we've got a societal mad cow disease incoming.
Perfect. Mostly, and helped in part by my brother, who's requesting it to make rap songs reminiscent of the Wu-Tang Clan members about farts.
Yeah.
Do you have any lines off the top of your head that stand out?
I don't. Yeah, I do actually. I have one on my phone right now that I can.
If you're ready.
Back here.
Yeah.
Should I go from the first song?
Yeah.
We don't need to spend that much time on this. Let's.
Okay. Yeah. Gotta let it out. No holding back. The gas builds up. Time to attack. You like that one? Yeah, that's just a snippet. I mean, AI can do a lot of things, and write rap songs about farts is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, I'm convinced now that it's coming for us all.
All he convinced me is that songwriters are out of business.
I'm not convinced of that yet. This is nonsense. Sharp like a sword, my words cut through. In the new style, I bring something true. The beats and the rhymes, they intertwine. I spit my passion, my verses align. Fine, that rhymes, but
that
it doesn't.
Fire. Yeah,
it doesn't really mean anything. With Shaolin precision, I leave him in despair. Like what? I don't.
Well, does rap really mean anything? I mean,
I think it does. I think I'd like to think it does. I like to think art.
I think you could further prompt that to say, write me a story style art rap, Ice Cube style or whatever. I think you'd get something different.
One of my friends, I guess not my colleague, she studies literature and they've really played around with ChatGPT and it only seems to rhyme in a particular scheme. She worked it out. It was like some sort of hexameter though.
It rhymes like it writes raps as if it's like Ice-T from 1994.
It writes everything like it says Ice-T from 1994. Like it doesn't. It's fucking terrible.
I mean,
it's
got a charm to it.
Yeah. So anyway, before we got into what was it? The angelic chorus, the elven chorus.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the elven chorus. That's right. So we were talking about Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings again because I always talk about it because I'm stupid. Anyway, I bought a bunch of these cards, but some fucking guy from Whitby, Ontario, Canada, pulled the one of one card. And I think I brought it up earlier. I don't know if it ever made it to air, but Post Malone advised he was going to purchase this card no matter who got it, put $1 million bounty on it. Turned out the card really went up in price actually from there in terms of prospect or whatever value. This fucking sweaty, shaking guy from Whitby is now on social media hugging Post Malone, quivering together as Post Malone purchases this card from him for $2.6 million Canadian.
Oh my goodness!
Holy shit!
Well, no, good for him. That's not even a lot of money, but it's I'm not going to be very disappointed to receive that amount of money. Let's not be let's not be coy, but it's as long as he doesn't fuck it up. That's the kind of money that you could still fuck up and lose.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it should have been me.
It's a lot of money for opening a pack of cards.
Yeah, well, when you frame it like that, maybe you're right. It's ill-gotten gains.
It depends. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make that fucking easy too.
Oh, you mean like make it work?
That's a perfect amount of money to end any normal person's household debt and park and live off of.
Yeah, theoretically. Yeah, no, but it's still.
You know, it's not like hey, you know what? For all you listeners out there, don't spend the fucking principal. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Doesn't earn that way. That's it.
There you go. Money must not sleep.
I like how for the day.
I like how we're so staunchly anti-capitalist, but the moment we start, money must not sleep.
We're back to capital sadness.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't have any.
Yeah, well, if you did though, you would know to keep it awake. You would.
I would know
adrenochrome.
Sleep. Yeah, I would know to get into the boat with the little Filipino fisherman lady.
Oh yeah, good move.
Be a man.
Yeah. Otherwise, how are you, gentlemen? You guys want to talk about John Constantine, Hellblazer? Good. Well, you came to the right place, because here on the Extinction Agenda, that's all we talk about. That's yeah. From now on.
Yeah, we should from now on after that book. Jesus.
Yeah. So hi everyone, Extinction Agenda. We got me, James, other person.
Oh yeah, I'm James too.
James, and
I'm Chris.
Excellent, fantastic.
Alrighty.
Chris is
another.
We should introduce intro. Chris. Not bad. Getting a little better. I figured how
maybe
to
we need what do you need an audio clip, like a feed-in clip, you know?
Oh, you like,
you know?
Yeah, James, and Chris. And then I got to splice it in. You know what? We could just do our jobs.
Yeah. Okay.
So excited about automating us out of existence.
Yeah, I could do that for us easy. Make a quick thing with a fart sound. You could say it in Optimus Prime voice and get us sued by Peter Cullen.
Oh shit! He turned like 80 the other day, or 83 or something.
Oh yeah, he's older than 80.
Yeah, but he's not older than 80. He's in his 80s. Anyway, whatever. Constantine, Hellblazer. We kind of fished around at doing this for a while. And the time is right as we head into August, which hopefully will become Avatar August to some extent. And to do that, basically Avatar August is Warren Ellis, Alan Moore August, maybe some Garth Ennis August. And so to get some, to touch on some lesser lights of the British invasion, I thought we might do some Jamie Delano, early Hellblazer, and then also just for fun, talk about Constantine from 2005, starring Keanu Reeves.
What a fine film.
Yeah, and I don't know, where do you want to, any preferences on how we start?
I got a preference. I think I say the first book, because I feel like I feel like the movie drew from that story in some sense.
In how? Yeah, I'm curious about that. Like, not to.
I feel like the way he negotiated with demons and angels, and the way that he sort of skirted around handling demons and excommunicating them was involved, at least.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think that we. Yeah, I like
first book movie, second two books. But
I think if we start talking about the first book, then we're going to start doing we're not going to do a good demarcation. Yeah, maybe we should have talked about this ahead of time. Chris, I hear you want to do the movie.
I felt it doesn't matter, but I thought I want to do the movie because I want to talk about how poor to form it is, or how it just sucks all the life out of the comic. So
okay, well,
yeah, that's fair. I'm good with that.
Well, it sounds like we're just gonna flop back and forth like a big floppy metaphor of some sort, and and we'll just do that. And because it's just gonna it just makes sense. Like, I agree with you, James, that I kind of want to intertwine these things, but
yeah, I want to talk about both because I don't think you guys. You know what? I'm just gonna start off. I don't think you guys are gonna like to hear this. I liked how Keanu played John Constantine.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I'm saying it. Yeah, it's a hot take. I don't like this initial weird, soft John Constantine. I don't know. I have a really big book of Garth and a Steve Dillon Constantine that I'd like to dip into a little bit sometime. That I've never read, but I don't know if the character stays like this, but I don't care for him, and that's hard to follow for a protagonist for me.
Hey, wait, sorry, I was confused by some of that. So you liked how Keanu played the character of Constantine. So
it's not true to comic, though.
It's not true to comic, right? That's fair.
No.
Accurate. What were you gonna say, Chris?
I was just gonna ask, how familiar are you? Like, how much Constantine have you read?
Oof, very little, almost none.
Okay.
I have
that's
actually quite a bit. It's weirdly on my shelf, and I sort of was waiting for us to pick it up.
I'll do that in a Constantine anytime. I love it, and it's different in Garth's hands, for sure. Yeah, I'm a big Keanu Reeves apologist, but I think he's so wrong for this role.
He could have been okay, but Keanu's, so I keep coming back to, like, my notes are lung cancer, worst actor on this. Like, I like Keanu in the same way that you guys do. Like, he's won me over the years in the same way that Nicolas Cage has won me over. So you're not going to get me like although I wrote terrible actor, but he was just, his way of having lung cancer was so not real in any respect. Like, it's so like formal and not formal. It's just like it's exaggerated or cartoonish even, or I couldn't even put my. But
no,
like,
cartoonish is fair. I came back to that word a few times watching his performance.
Yeah, and so like so I guess maybe we should give some context on what this movie is. But I didn't dislike it. At the end, I was like, well, that was all right. Like, I remember watching it. I feel I saw it in theaters way back in 2005. I might be making that up, but
it had a great cast.
Great cast.
And you're obviously a big Rachel Weisz fan right here. And she's a great actress. Tilda Swinton, phenomenal. I feel that they but a lot of movies did this at that time. Early 2000s were bad for this, but they leaned into CGI because everybody had it for the first time, and it was easy to use, and at the time it looked okay. But it doesn't hold up in a lot of movies from that era, aside from maybe Spielberg's or whatever. But and they leaned way into it using like almost no practical effects at all, and that hurt the movie. Also, the script is terrible at best.
Oh, we should talk about the origins of this script.
You're so right about the CGI in that era, and I think being a big horror fan, like, there was a stretch of years pretty much the same time where CGI just killed horror because the instinct was to show as much as possible, and that doesn't make it scary. It makes it look cheap. It makes it look corny. It spoils any sort of dread that you can build, and that's exactly what this movie goes to over and over again. So like the even though he's fighting demons and such, it just looks like stupid a lot of the time.
And the funniest thing is, like, one of the greatest directors of our lifetime, okay, and maybe one of you is going to chuckle, but Steven Spielberg. No. I'm going to say, like, he's a master of special effects. He did Jurassic Park. He used CGI before anybody else in the 90s. And he did it effectively by doing what? Hiding it in the fucking dark.
Yeah.
And now, even now in 2023, the easiest way to smooth over CGI is to put it in the dark. And people have learned that over the years. But, as soon as you get, to that, do that Marvel thing with it, where you put all the lights on with the CGI, all you have to go back to the first Avengers movie. It looks like fucking garbage.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's just, you can't do it. You can't get away with it. But there are movies now, too, in the last, 10, 15 years where, if you shut the lights on those effects, even horror as well, Chris, where if you can include the CGI, but if you can put it in the dark, you can mask the sort of the weakness of it a little bit, and it'll have more lasting power. And why nobody picked up on that, I don't know. But
yeah,
I'm surprised that you guys are so aggressively against the CGI in this. I'm not going to say it was the best ever, but it also wasn't the worst ever.
It wasn't the worst ever, but I think to me it spoils the potential horror of what's going on. It just kind of puts it into sort of weird adult fantasy territory.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, I think this whole movie militarizes against horror. There's no horror in this. This is as horrific as Doctor Who or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That it goes a bit more extreme because it's a movie, but there's nothing of this is a PG movie, and I know horror movies can be PG, but there's maybe a good contrast against the comics is there's no politics to this. There's no human darkness to this. It's just a Catholic, and that's another thing that I can't believe about this fucking movie is just its intense Catholicism.
Yeah.
Or just let's say baseline mainstream Christianity.
I got a lot to say about that.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure we both do.
Yeah.
And you're it's just like a Wonderland version or a Disneyland version of the character that we meet in Jamie Delano's hands in 1988. Fine, it's in LA, but there's there's got to be something about the human condition that you can bring to light looking at LA, right? It's not. It's so this comic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just before, I think this will bridge into the script, but to me, this movie felt like someone was given a stack of Constantine comics, flipped through them, and just kind of said, "Comics are for kids." Okay, I got it, and just kind of put some images in, but it has nothing to do with the character or the like you said, the context, the politics, whatever makes Constantine. None of those are included.
And the shocking, so this gets into where the script comes from. So the original story comes from the guy who wrote The Glimmer Man by Steven Seagal's Glimmer Man.
Oh, no.
Kevin Broadbent.
A lot is coming to light now.
But it's cleaned up. Maybe I'm getting this backwards, but I think it's Frank Capello who he does the screenplay based on, he works with Broadbent on the screenplay, but it's Broadbent's story. And this guy previously did Suburban Commando, but he was a Hellblazer fan. I think he came from London, and he used to read Hellblazer comics. And so I read an interview with him. I think it was Capello, Capello, and he's very earnest, he's just I really love Hellblazer, and they're asking him questions like, oh, you changed it from LA to London, what was that about? And there's all these sort of bullshit answers, and you're like, you really thought that you were doing a good job, sir. And that's super interesting to me. Cause I didn't do it. This isn't true to the character in any sense. Aside from if you squint, this is John Constantine. Cause it's got the lung cancer thing from Garth Ennis's run. And it's got Papa Midnight from Delano's run. And it's got some of the things. Yeah, I mean, it's got some of the things that James is talking about, this allegory for high society and demons is kind of there.
I'll jump back over to what's his name?
Delano.
Yeah.
Delano's first book that we read. It was not good.
Issue number 3, Going for It.
Yeah, didn't care for it, and
Okay.
and the way demons were portrayed were hokey, and I can almost see where this movie would come from depending on what source material you dipped into or the
Right.
volume of it that you dipped into.
Yeah, that's fair. I think in Delano, like in that story, it's a little bit intentionally corny and campy.
Yeah, obviously the flatulence fucking god wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, for the context, it's that story's about demons kind of coming up and like jumping on board the yuppie movement and just kind of like living the good life with like baby skin curtains and shit like that while they steal souls from yuppies.
Yeah, there's some sort of an analogy or correlation between the Thatcher. Okay, I'm sorry. Rewind for a second. We read issues 3 through 5 of Delano's run, which were from March of 1988 to May of 1988. For context, Killing Joke came out in March of 1988. Sandman was a glimmer in Neil Gaiman's eye, and Watchmen was still sort of being released at this time. So it's we got Delano. He's taking over the role. He just gets kind of picked up by Karen Berger, who's editing. This is pre-Vertigo, and working with John Ridgway, and both of them had they're both 2000 AD guys. Essentially, they worked on Transformers together and Doctor Who comics, and so like this is them hitting the big time, so to speak. And this comic is about the yuppies, right? But it's also about Thatcher's election in 1987 and the stock market, and also correlating that with hell and demons and stuff. Like I'm not sure it actually works as a metaphor, as a coherent sort of structure, but there's all these parallels or these placing side by side of these various evils. Let's say you have conservatism, intense Thatcherite conservatism of the sort of yuppie capitalism, and then hell.
Yeah, if it hangs together, it's the idea of like selling out for the good life to getting it above people.
Yeah. But even then, not so much.
Yeah,
but yeah, like
it's a bit uneven.
It's there. Like I thought it like I agree. Getting back to what James was saying, I agree that it is hokey. It is meant to be satirical, and whether it succeeds or not is a different question. But it wants to show sort of intense social realities and talk about larger social forces, and then just give it a really basic supernatural sheen, and make that the kind of thing that John Constantine encounters and fights against and stuff, which is getting back to the movie, absolutely nothing like the movie. Like there's no, I'm sure I've already said, but there's no social commentary. There is a politics. There is something going on under the surface that I want to kind of get at, and Chris, you probably want to get at too. But
Yep.
But there's nothing there's nothing. I don't want to call John Constantine woke, but at all. But it is kind of, there's no woke element to the Constantine movie. Like it's not interested in society, and that's a major component.
It just abstracts all of that, I think, and it to the point where like why do you even need this character? Like there's nothing of the Constantine of the comics in it really. And I think the exciting thing about that series, and I'm a huge fan, like when it's done well, I think Constantine's fantastic, but he should be a guy living on the knife's edge always and addicted to it and like loving it and hating it in equal measure. And he's a guy who just like is always going forward and always digging himself in deeper, but it's a shell game that he's using people, he's burning them out of necessity, and it's just like, it's tragic that like he's getting shit done, but like it's just always getting worse. I think that this like there's nothing clever about Keanu Reeves. Like his solution is like, holding up holy symbols and punching things, and like there's just at the very, not to jump way to the end, but like, you know, the devil's like, is this another one of your tricks? But like, we've never seen him once do anything clever in this movie.
I suppose that's true. Oh no,
that's true.
he tricked Balthazar with the what was the final unction or whatever.
He did, and I actually like I thought the sprinkler systems full of holy water was pretty clever too, actually. But
yeah, but still though, you don't get the impression that this guy is on the par with the devil. You know, he's
not living
barely
on the wit's edge.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna chip back over to the comic quick and say I didn't get any inclination that character was on par with the devil either. He was a chicken shit fucking. He's unlikable chicken shit.
I know where you're going with this one.
Barely skated by in all of his scenarios.
Yeah, we didn't really cover some of the better trickster.
He was gutless.
Stories.
I'm not even sure that he really saved anyone at all.
No, he's more of a witness to events, except when he saves his sister-in-law. But then actually,
and that's
girl,
written.
Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't even in the subtext. That was written right in, that he was kind of a voyeur in a way that he sort of like is there. Yeah, I guess the character's almost like there to like bear witness to heaven and hell's horrors, and to like sort of like walk that line. And then he's I guess he's able to sort of like mildly interfere, you know, when things have gone like way too awry, and that's what I picked up from the 3 issues we read versus the Terminator style one that Keanu Reeves was had on display for us. But
there's a great example in the first 2 issues of this comic where this John's junkie friend releases this demon, and like it's a major threat. And so it ends up the only way that he can get it, like it was in a bottle or whatever. He released it. At the end, John tricks him into coming onto this roof, and like the guy's like, "Oh, I don't understand how you're gonna get that thing back in the bottle." And they kind of bind the demon into the guy. Like so he's just like, "Constantine, you bastard!" But it's like the only thing that he can do to contain this problem. Like that's the sort of like more active Constantine that you'll see. I think the 3 issues we chose sort of. Yeah, he really is sort of in a passive mode in these ones, and maybe not the best overall example, but interesting stories from a.
Because the stories were great. The second 2 books I was like enamored with, very like they were great, but just the characters are so weak and unlikable, which I guess is almost like it's when you see a character like that, sometimes it's nice because you can kind of. This is not going to sound nice, but you want to like contrast yourself with them, or easy to compare yourself, easy to commiserate with, to be like, no fucking way I would jump in on that, or I would probably freeze in that scenario also, you know. So in that sense,
I think Garth
like
Ennis
cool
is,
from a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, Garth Ennis is not the Punisher. Constantine that Chris is hearkening to mostly, I feel, is Garth Ennis's Constantine, that ultimate trickster, like specifically how he deals with his lung cancer issue.
Yeah,
is very like they definitely had that in mind when the devil shows up at the end and is so gleeful about taking him. It's as if like the writers forgot that you had to take actual story beats from stories in order to earn the aura of John Constantine. Like they just assumed the fact that it was Constantine, the name,
and he had lung
like
cancer.
Yeah. So they're like, oh well, we did it. You know, like it just makes
100%.
sense.
It's fun. It's funny because the movie was carried by Rachel Weisz, I found. And the other supporting actors, Tilda Swinton, and I can't remember who he was that played the devil, but that guy came in to the scene as if he read all the comics and was playing this off of a completely different story that wasn't this one.
Right. The nihilist guy from Big Lebowski, Peter.
Yeah.
Peter Stormare or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was great. Everybody was great. Even the guy from fucking Bush, Gavin Rosedale. I wrote down, what is he? Fresh meat. finger looking good. And I was
Oh,
like, what
that's
the
so gross.
That was
He was
terrible.
so
Yeah.
weird.
Terrible delivery.
And he was, and his deliveries were so bad that they were like, that's what made it feel cartoony. When you said that I said that was one of the things I wrote down too, was cartoon. It was very like, there was camp. There was hard delivered camp in certain scenarios. So.
Well, when he builds his fucking crossbow, literally
Oh,
the
God,
fucking
yeah.
cross or whatever, and you're just like, he's throwing holy water ampules and everything, and you're just like,
Well,
what
he's even
the
got
fuck
that,
is
like,
this?
he's even got that like the mystic cue, like as if he's James Bond or whatever, like telling him like all the hardware and shit. Like that was so that made me angry.
Yeah. But still though, it still somehow managed to work. Like Tilda's
She was
fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
When she shows up at the end and like the sort of story is revealed, which I guess we haven't even talked about, like what the fuck is the plot of this thing?
Yeah, I guess we should.
I don't know if you have to.
Well, I think you do a little bit. I think that there's a lot of stuff going on in here that I was like, it made me cock my head to the side and like really wonder about this movie. So it starts off with, by the way, directed by the guy who's going to go on to do Hunger Games. All the Hunger Games movies are directed by this guy, and it kind of made me want to watch the Hunger Games movies.
They're pretty good.
I like the cut of this guy's jib. I think he's never going to be a great director, but I was like, oh yeah, you want to do a young adult fiction? That's basically what this is. You sold me. Anyway, starts off, we got a Mexican scavenger. Somehow manages to find and they don't show explicitly that it's a Nazi flag that it's wrapped in, I don't think, and they don't really talk about that throughout any of this book, which
all of that is that's like you say, it's like they were like doing horror elements and they were doing rated R elements, and then they'd skirt it, you know?
Oh yeah,
just be like, whoa, nope. Nope. Yeah.
So anyway, they find this thing, and like it's the spear of destiny, which supposedly was, had stabbed Christ. It's got Christ's blood on it, so it's a powerful anti-holy implement, and he's possessed by it. This Mexican scavenger who has no name to my knowledge or recollection.
No.
Gets kind of superpowers out of it. Gets hit by a car, and somehow it's like he crashed into the Pentagon. Makes no sense. But whatever. It kind of maybe looks a little okay. And meanwhile, John Constantine has noticed like a bunch of demons are trying to make it into the mortal realm. And so he's investigating. Rachel Weisz's twin psychiatric patient sister is somehow involved. She commits suicide, and the sister's investigating, and she gets entwined with Constantine, and hijinks ensue. Shia LaBeouf's in there for some reason.
Oh yeah, he does like a Rob Schneider taxi driver sort of like a Deadpool
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, Derpinder role.
Yeah. The fact that he delivers an exorcism, really funny in hindsight.
I like that. I like Shia LaBeouf. I didn't care for him for this story. I was like, that's weird. Like, he's such what's the comedic relief for? Like, this show's not dark enough to be like. Again, that's why I kept. And I don't say it dismissively. Like it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like Doctor Who. It's like it's dark elements with comedic relief built in unnecessarily, just to like add some. Well, we've already said camp to it.
Yeah, exactly. I do like him too. I even when he went mad, his reasoning behind it sort of, or his just general, like, I don't know. I mean, it's not like Hollywood's a nice place, so I feel like I get him.
You feel you can relate to Shia LaBeouf? That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's patron saint of the podcast, Shia LaBeouf. Shia, if you ever want to come on, that'd be so awkward.
No, it wouldn't.
You don't think so? What are you gonna do? Like, we're gonna talk to him for 10 minutes, and he's just gonna start telling us like endless stories. And we're just gonna kind of listen. Well, it'd be.
I feel like I'd know more about the world if I got to have that experience.
Yeah, I would like. I guess I would prefer to sit down with Shia LaBeouf. Shia, if you're listening, We want to sit down with you in person. You can come to my place. We can
I
get
wanna know about
trash.
Mia
Oh
Goth.
yeah, right. Okay.
What do you want?
I want to know about Mia Goth.
Well, is that did he have a relationship?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
like
okay.
they have a child together. I don't know if they're still
Oh
dating.
wow. Okay. All right. Well, she can come too. Bring the kids.
I want to know about that like neighborhood that he hangs out in his garden and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So scratch this. No longer a John Constantine podcast. Going full Shia LaBeouf. All the Shia LaBeouf movies, all the time, all the trivia, all the talk, all the gossip. We would have actually an audience. It would be fantastic.
You know what? We'll have to save this for a special for another time. We'll give it the Steven Seagal treatment.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
actually
please.
probably a good idea.
Yeah. Not a bad idea at all. Okay. So anyway,
So that plot,
I guess eventually, spoilers, it's revealed that all the stuff that's going on is the machinations of Tilda Swinton's Gabriel Angel character, who is trying to what's the idea to like bring about a purifying experience for humanity in order to
Christ onto the earth to
Yeah.
reign in fire and blood so that humanity will be tested,
Nice.
basically.
All right.
Yeah.
Good move.
Yeah.
And to be worthy of God's love, because they have the choice. You know, they're so forgiven all the time. I guess she's like, she's like, you guys are a bunch of cucks, and she wants to deal with that. Okay, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work because John Constantine does his little trick or whatever. And that's it. I don't even think John and Rachel Weisz get it on.
No.
Am I wrong about that? No. Yeah, it's very chaste. Very chaste movie.
Yeah. She like hangs around in her
The closest thing, I was gonna say the closest thing you get to it is that when she asks him if she has to be fully clothed or nude in order to break through into hell through a bathtub, and he takes a moment to think about it.
Yeah.
Because
Right,
he's being pervy, and that's given to us as appropriate and welcome advance.
It's not
Even
a
though
bad
it shouldn't
advance.
have been.
No, it's fine
It's a little
amongst
yeah.
people who want to flirt. I guess that's fine. It wasn't being it's not like he ripped her clothes off. He's just like, maybe I want to. Maybe you need to be naked for this ritual when I drown you, so you can go to hell.
That was the most Constantine part of the movie too. Like that felt appropriate
That
for the
you're
character.
agreed. Yeah, that was as close to characterization as he got, I think. Where I was this guy's like a common perv who just drowned a chick in a tub to make sure she could break through to hell.
Yeah. What constantly distracted me from that scene, although it was a cool scene or whatever, I was like, they're in a bowling alley. What the fuck is this tiled clawfoot bathroom that's in the back? Like, just you don't even think about it. You're like, what the fuck is this bathroom?
It's true. They were in it's almost like they were in like a fancy like a hotel suite from like a heritage building, and then all of a sudden I'm back in the bowling alley.
Yeah, you're like, you just don't like. And it's the guy, the director. What's his? Did I even write this guy's fucking name? Probably not. Doesn't matter. Director, whatever his name is. He used to do music videos, and it's a very music video movie. And in its like juxtaposition of images and its willingness to go like in the bowling alley, there's something like steampunk about it. When the machines are activated, and that guy, the Q guy, is who gets all of the goodies for Constantine, and he's about to get murdered pretty badly by bugs and stuff. There's just it just jumps around aesthetics, but it's just dark, various flavors of like young adult dark, in good music video fashion.
Yeah, I see that. I see what you mean.
Yeah. Because of the bathroom thing, you're just like you're just given that, and then you leave it, and there's no reason for those two things to be connected other than the fact that they're just those things are connected. Like it's almost a dream logic.
Yeah, it's true. And it's the same thing, like, because his shots are beautiful. Like, he has great shots. He used great backgrounds. He used great scenes. He used interesting locations. You were never, robbed of that. But like you say, you weren't given any like organic transition into those cool locations. You're just like, awesome. Wait, where the fuck was I? How did this happen?
Yeah,
I even like his depiction of.
Eventually, you kind of accept it, but
yeah.
I like the depiction of hell. I mean, like, so getting back to the CGI stuff, like that, those Guillermo del Toro type monsters, demons, like prowling around in this constant nuclear holocaust where things don't fade. There's just like nuclear happening, but there's still structure. It's it's very Terminator 2, but given like a more of a hellish sheen. I like that.
And they did have that layer when you broke through where you saw like people just piled on top of each other, like screaming, almost like what you'd imagine like a concentration camp to be like.
That was
wow.
There's like a brief sort of image of that.
Right.
And that made me think of the stairs from that first issue too.
Right. The
human faces that he walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his descent to hell or whatever, to visit the Lord of Flatulence or whatever.
Blathoxy. Yeah. I don't think I wrote that down correctly.
I have a nerd complaint about I feel like this movie was not even trying in terms of its like demonology. Like so like the whole plot contains like Mammon being the son of the devil and like the devil's playing a long game. Mammon's like, no, I want this now, and just kind of like trying to accelerate things. But that's not a minor demon. Like if Satan's like the Superman of the infernal world, like Mammon would at least be on the Justice League. So they're just like, I don't know, like it's not like people wouldn't know that Mammon's about greed and about financial transactions, but then the plot is that he wants to come and lead the savage world of fire and blood. Just seemed dumb to me.
Well, yeah, I'll agree. This notion that it's from the, I think, Book of Matthew, something, whatever. Jesus is like, you can't serve God and Mammon. And this is like, maybe it's even in Luke. It's just this idea that like God is not material, and Mammon is capital, greed, material wealth.
Which is probably the like one of the better parts of that. The first Delano issue that we looked at is that kind of like that rise sort of like arch thing of like this is the toehold in this world. Like what an era to be a demon of greed.
Yeah, in a place where like people are hungry on the street and other people are yucking it up and taking, what do they call it, fresh. It was like it was an adrenochrome comment.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. What? Yeah. How did they say it? Sorry, it's just it really struck me. It was like infant adrenal tincture from the free-range nurseries of Beirut, earth-grown, hell harvested, the best. And they talk about how they're gonna like bathe in blood and all that stuff.
And that's what bothers me about it is like that sort of evil is sort of like the degradation that you find when people are put above each other. That's interesting, but just like gonna burn it all to the ground. Like why? Yeah, it's very lazy in the film.
I think I'm going to argue that this movie is symbolic of America's false consciousness. I think it's really significant that Mammon's choice of emissary is a Mexican poor person who is found this connection to the unholy through like Nazi symbolism. Like there's this concern about fascism. There's concern about the barbarians invading. Like what's worse to Americans close to the border, in California, than concerns about immigration, the hordes coming.
And he like literally runs over and jumps over a fence too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know
And
Donald didn't have the wall back then, but
yeah, no, but there's lots of people who wanted it then, and lots of people who wanted it before.
Just that imagery
now. Yeah, and so
I'm so excited. Go ahead.
Oh, just it's so okay. So you've got the barbaric hordes coming in, but they're carrying the power of capital with them. And it. So what do people always say about people who vote Republican, or not? What does everybody say? But what do we say? What do we think is that like there's these group of individuals who their real enemy, the real thing that's going to cause the world and is causing the world to collapse is mammon. But what they're afraid of is the Mexicans, because they're well, whatever. They're just afraid of the Mexicans. And so what this movie does is wrap up the Mexican in that threat, in the same way that American ideology wraps Mexicans up in that threat. They're part of the globalist plot to replace you. And they're Nazis and fascists, right? Like this movie says so much more than it realizes that it's saying.
Absolutely.
It's wild. And then you're like, the only thing that can deal with this is Catholicism or like mainstream Christianity. It is such a conservative movie without realizing that it's conservative in any respect. Well, no, it must realize it, like because the primary concern is like Constantine's going to hell because he commits suicide as a kid because of his mental health issues.
Which is entrapment. Like it feels so much like entrapment, Like he's got to be this agent
And so for that reason.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go. No, please.
No, because I like one thing that I was thinking about this. I think that this is a cop movie in disguise. Like it's Constantine just keeps coming in like a cop. He's actually a border patrol guy. Like he's so concerned with mixing and with these half breeds. He keeps going like, they're half breeds.
That's right. Yeah,
which is not.
Well, he can see them. He's one of the few individuals who sees what American society otherwise represses, which is the mixing.
He's like some sort of like one of these patriot guys who like does voluntary border patrol, rounds up immigrants and like sends them back.
Oh Jesus, that's even worse than I was thinking.
Yeah. It's also inherently contradictory, and like if he thinks heaven and hell both suck, why is he so invested in the purity of them? Like it's really gross to me, the undertones of this movie.
Yeah. And so for that reason, for one of the many reasons, but like that, what would be a greater betrayal of John Constantine Hellblazer as a property, right? Where like we don't see him interact with angels all the time, or I can't really think of any time. But then again, I haven't read all of Delano's stuff. I'm sure at some point there's angels, but I seem to think you get it in Garth, but he's definitely dealing with hell. And he's definitely dealing with
Garth also like typically tends to like enjoy like shitting on heaven.
Oh yeah,
like so he whenever he brings something like that into play, it'll be to make them like come off as bad as demons, which is always funny.
Well, here's a quote from so it's an interview with Jamie Delano and Garth Ennis regarding their early Punisher work from 1999, I think. And the question is, you brought a lot of Christian mythology, demons and angels and the like. What's your take on Christianity, Garth Ennis? I've never done anything but disliked it, really. I've never been able to relate to it and see what the point of it is. I've never seen it cause anything but misery and suffering, although I'll have to admit there's people it has helped, given them a crutch to hold them up. I'm told that everybody needs something. Personally, I'm fine. I don't believe in all that. That's me in the world. There's me in the world, and we get along fine. But some people do need to believe that there's something beyond. And so when it comes to writing my stuff, I either ridicule it or attack it. Not wrong.
That's what I like.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like, that's kind of true to form. Like the God's kind of this corrupt precinct in this movie, just sort of like entrapping Constantine, like getting him, putting him on his side, but it's all just kind of this weird game.
Like dangle the carrot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But really, like, I don't know, even when he talks to Gabriel, it's not like I don't think anyone ever has it on the table for him to go to heaven. It's not really ever an offer.
That's
Like
true.
he's just trying that on his own with no guarantee. Like,
Yeah, that's true. And like Rachel Weisz says too, like you're trying to buy your way into heaven, like as if that wasn't like a practice that you could actually do in Catholicism. But
sorry, that's funny.
that's
for me.
funny.
I guess I guess if you were to be charitable to the movie, like the fact that it's mammon, you can't buy your way into heaven, but it does fucking it's very Calvinist, which is good because it's American, right? So like I was like, where's the Protestant element to this Christianity? And it's just this idea that like you're fucking trapped, you're done. There's no way of getting out of it, and you can perform all these good works, but you're predestined to heaven or hell. And Constantine, like a good Calvinist, is as a consequence of his predestination or believed predestination towards hell, is so concerned about the purity of borders and the separation of heaven and hell and the embrace of one over the other.
yeah, it's like he just internalized it all because dad's mad and he just like wants to get on the good side,
Yeah. So this fucking movie, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, please.
I was gonna say the ending, like what is this trick even, like? Because it wasn't the grand finale of the Ennis book. He doesn't even really trick the devil.
So he
just
sort
dies,
of does.
And then is going to heaven. And then devil's like, no, not so fast. Like, I'm going to make sure that you get a chance to damn yourself again.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Well, it does undo the trick, but I guess that maybe is true to form for our Constantine, where like you'll only get so far, but it's just so you can live to fight another day, or face damnation another day.
Yeah, but he gets his little Christ pose, I guess he did save the world. I guess that's fair.
Yeah,
he's a JC.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fuck. That didn't occur to me until you said that. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, they went there.
Hey, can you believe that this is the movie that Batman Begins, like the year that Batman Begins comes out?
No.
Yeah. I was like, what movies were coming out at this time? We got X-Men was 2000. We got Blade and Blade 2 have come out. Both the first two Spider-Man movies have come out. X2 2003, Hellboy 2004, Batman Begins and Sin City and V for Vendetta come out the same year as this. Very difficult to believe, but anyway, little trivia there. So the Constantine movie its politics are sort of pretty American, pretty disgusting, pretty washed over in a way that is so not true to our boy Constantine. We already talked about issue 3. Issue 4 is another American story. Oh no, sorry. Issue 4 is the when his sister's kid is kidnapped.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, touching on satanic panic kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. But really shitty towards Christianity and towards like Protestant sects and that kind of thing. But also connecting it to capitalism. Like later on, Constantine's going to be like, what the to his sister, like, what are you doing with these people? And she's like, well, times are tough and God is good business. Like we're able to buy this house because we're part of the pyramid of prayer.
Yeah, that's what he said. I think he says that. He says, well, like, God's always good for business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's an equal opportunity criticism, which, I guess you could see that in the Constantine movie, but it's been defanged.
Yeah, he does say that. He does say, like, God's just a kid playing with an ant farm. Like, he's definitely not really hopeful that there's a plan in place.
Yeah. Yeah, which is the thing that, like, it's so Catholic, it's so Protestant so Christian, and at the same time it like
plays at cynicism.
Yeah, it really does, in a way that's like is calculated to be edgy.
Yeah. In fact, not to beat a dead horse, but there's a moment where I felt it was emblematic of the film where like he walks past this car and says like, time is running out to buy your Chevy or something like that. And it's sort of like playing with this idea of like mocking advertisement, but it is literally a product placement. I was like, this is a perfect like symbol of this movie.
Right. I forgot all about that, but yeah, you're right. James, what did you think of John Ridgway's art in the Constantine comics?
Did he do all 3 books?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like his art. I like his line work. He's not like even his backgrounds. I mean, like he doesn't use them all the time, but he doesn't need to, because he does some like very detailed like sort of like portrait and expression. So it's like it's not like he almost purposefully excludes them, because his like ability to render like towns, streets, fields, horrific dungeon basements for strangling children, whatever, he can do it. So when he doesn't include it, it seems to be because he just wants to focus on his expressions and things like that. But yeah, no, his art's fantastic, and it got better too. I felt through the 3 books. Yeah, the third one was the best. But
he gets some really good
getting better, or whether or not he just maybe liked the subject material in that one.
Do you think the colorist kind of does him dirty a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. The color.
I would have said the opposite. I really like the coloring on this. I do.
A fucking giant purple wall. Come on, it's not even. There's not even any effort into it. That's like a budget constraint issue.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, I feel that it is very sparse as far as coloring goes, but I think it gives it a sort of raw emotional background to things, or even like psychedelic kind of, like I'm looking at the beginning of. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say that's kind as fuck.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I just liked it. I mean, I think it even reproduces well digitally, which is not always the case. I'd like to see the original comics.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that is the case, where if you saw it on the proper print, maybe it would look a little bit better.
Yeah,
but I do think there's just, I don't know. So I'm more with James. I think there's these weird splashes that don't really, they just kind of seem kind of lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm looking at a page right now. There's like maybe 4 colors in the whole page, and they're like solid colors. There's no blending. It just seems to me like to be like exclusively like this is what we had to work with. Like we had to do it this way.
But I think that, so you commented, I'm looking at Constantine talking with Zed, the Elvira chick, who he meets up with, and they're at dinner. It's on page 101 of the collected edition, and it's just red and blue. And you were talking about how the backgrounds, he doesn't always include them, and that's definitely going on here, but you don't notice it because the colorist has picked something that allows the eye to wash over it. And you don't mind, like a good colorist will make up for the fact that there's no backgrounds, because that's their job in a lot of comics, and it's a very basic job that a lot of them fail at. And I think this person, what was their fucking name? It was like Kinzierski. I don't know. I didn't think they were bad at it.
Like maybe I see what you mean. I mean like in just like a pure form sort of way. They've done it so that the characters pop out of the image, that nothing gets like blended together. And I mean, like if you had to do this minimally, without like, and then maybe you did pull it off in that sense.
Yeah, like I'm not going to begrudge anyone who thinks that bright purple is not an appropriate image, like color for horror. And same thing with like all these pastels and stuff. I get it, but I like it. It tickles my fancy, but I can understand. Like it is a brush that is indiscriminate a lot of the time. It's like, okay, background's purple and this one's other
Green.
purple.
Fucking
right?
teal.
Yeah.
The car is teal and the building's teal.
Yeah.
And John's got yellow hair and a slightly less teal jacket. And it's I there's like just I can't tell you that if this was colored correctly, and I'm saying that because it's not, that it wouldn't be phenomenal, because it would.
Yeah, but, probably. So Ridgway's also doing the inking, just FYI. It's pencils.
Is that
and
the
inks.
colorist?
No,
pencils and inks. Yeah, that tracks, because it seems like, I don't know, that when you do that kind of like line work on he does like a lot of hatching, and when you do that kind of like specific line work, it's like usually out of love, like or out of like how you want your images to look, so that doesn't shock me.
I do like how everybody looks like wax skeletons melting, or wax figures melting, like no matter what.
That's so accurate.
That's fair. That's kind of what real humans look like to me, though.
Yeah, there we go. So this is
like saggy milk bags.
Oh Christ!
Real life.
He picks good angles, and like where Ridgway showed up in the Invisibles, but I think this is much better than the Invisibles work. Like even the scene on page 105 when they're driving to find that haunted house where the sister's daughter, well, I guess the niece, has been kidnapped, and they're just driving along the highway, and there's like different camera angles while there's dialogue boxes, and it never looks boring. It looks very good, even though like you're looking at the image and you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? That's not a car. That wheel is so tiny. Like, what's happening? But yeah, it just looks dynamic in a way that I really didn't appreciate as a kid. Like I remember reading these comics, borrowing from you, Chris. I like them so much more now as an adult. Delano gets a lot more credit in my mind now. Not that these were brilliant. I was reminded of that article I sent you guys about Saga, The Crap We Need. And I was thinking that like Hellblazer's the crap we need.
That's true.
It's like, it's not exceptional. It's not terrible. It's hitting for the fences, but it's not doing it. Kind of hokey, kind of stupid, kind of meh. But
you kind of like the grit, the sort of like the drive behind it.
Yeah. And it makes you want to show up, and, it makes an audience, like
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like tracking that little girl down into the creep's basement, and then like there's also like toying with those ghosts, the themes, like where like there's demons involved, like clearly like he's doing something that's causing like a pact from hell to have those souls be tied to him to bring in additional victims. That's clearly dark magic. There's demons at play, but that's not on the forefront. It's just there for you to sort of pick at after the fact. But I was invested in that search. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna go sideways. And then you start dressing her up for a wedding, and you're like, ugh.
It's
like,
not afraid to do the darkest possible things, and like. Kind of questionable, but also kind of awesome. Like just that you're willing to go for it and just like let it be as dark as it needs to be. I also really like the depiction of magic in this, like how subtle it is. Like when he's got that, like he opens up her toy box and he's got that little like plastic alligator, and he's like kind of dangling it over this mat, like just letting it pick the place where it is. And that's neat. It's not like a big showy thing.
Yeah, I like that, and I agree with the whole, like, I like Constantine. He feels like I was trying to describe it to Kate before we watched it yesterday, and I was like, he's like an alcoholic kind of piece of shit, like Doctor Strange.
Yes, exactly.
like just like way more subtle. Well, Keanu gave him a little more than subtle powers. He had some fucking force blasts and shit, but but the regular Constantine's his magic's very subtle.
Yeah. He's got the edge in my for once DC's got the better character in my opinion. This going back to the darkness of this, like that detail of like where the girls these girls approached this young like 10-year-old in the park and like want to meet our husband, like he's we can go over to his house and like it's it's a fun time and like maybe he'll make you his wife too. And she's like, yeah, great idea. And then she notices like these like marks around their neck. She's like strangulation marks. They're like, oh yeah, that's our wedding ring. Like it's just I was so uncomfortable. Like it's really not a detail you see very often.
Well, it was don't worry, it only hurts for a moment, then it's really nice. And you're like, oh, like it's got sexual connotations, like don't worry, like not connotations, like denotations. And it's these young girls who like this is cult talk, and it's recognizable cult talk. I mean, like sex is part of cults, like that's just part of it. And
it's like leveraged against the cult behavior on the other side with the creepy church people.
Exactly.
Like it's like that's nasty. Nasty business, and it's fair. It's fair. It's like a capitalist money cult on the other side. It has all its own evils, and then that's all.
That's
whatever contrasted against each other.
And that'll keep me reading. Like I mean, like that's good conflict.
Yeah, this too with the I like too how when Constantine and they found the girl. Well, they found the house that they were in, and then they found the other three girls, and they were obviously mutilated, strangled corpses that have been put nicely to bed in this mildewy fucking bed. But you didn't get to see that. That was it. And that's your like aha moment that those were ghosts. They were basically manipulating her, or demons.
Yeah, the pacing of this is good, and the revelation, like how slowly you unfold things. Like it's not really a surprise, but it's not a surprise at all. But it like you're just like, well, how is this going to play out? And like what gets unveiled, what gets non-shown, how does this going to resolve? It's very competent, and I don't mean that to be a dick. Like that's not a backhanded compliment. That's
no,
like everything's deliberately paced out.
I actually genuinely wasn't sure if she was going to be okay, and like that doesn't happen very often in when I'm reading comics or anything sort of more mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true, because these books kind of have no mercy.
Oh God, yeah. Which brings us to
when Johnny comes marching home. Speaking of no mercy.
Yeah. One moment before we do that, I was struck. So that the strangulation guy, he has the Damnation Army thing.
Yes.
That guy's like in later issues, that Damnation Army reappears, and it's sort of like a neo-Nazi thing. Like we get a lot of undercurrents of white nationalism and xenophobia in British culture in this early one. Later on, like he spray paints those punks who are putting up that graffiti. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this twinning of xenophobia and capital and the dangers, the intertwining of the two things. Maybe it's more true. Maybe the movie was more true than I gave it credit for. It just does a really bad job of separating the two, but it understands that there's two concerns, capitalism and xenophobia. Like it goes down a different route with it, but those two themes are there. Like they do share them in common.
It's just that John is the xenophobic one in the movie. It's
yeah. Not to erase anything that was said earlier. It was just like, oh, okay, actually maybe there's more of a parallel. Maybe what I'm reading isn't so absurd to read into it even in the context of the comic. Like those themes persist. But anyway,
Yeah.
And I guess they persist into the next story too.
Yeah. I just want to say, I like how there's like little, like it's building towards something. Even like the white nationalists, like eventually they kind of fuse into this horrific, like, I don't know, like pact of brotherhood. Like four-armed monster. But like those punks show up, like the skinheads show up like a lot in the, like just kind of briefly harassing shop owners earlier. Like he's building towards something. That's kind of an interesting and kind of exciting thing about these two.
Yeah. So suddenly Constantine's in America because he's checking up on Swamp Thing, apparently. So he's on a bit of a road trip, and he gets himself ensconced in another ghost story. This one about the ghosts of Vietnam in American culture and its relationship with sort of fundamentalist Christianity. I didn't like this one as much.
No,
because I thought I thought a lot of things about it, but the use of simile is so fucking constant. I'm tempted to use a simile to describe it. It is like, I don't know. It's so much, and it's not to good effect. It was so distracting for me. And some of the similes he was coming up with, I was like, what the fuck? And like later, the ones before and the ones after don't write like this. This is like, I don't know what the fuck what Delano was thinking when he started writing this, and why I guess he was just experimenting.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just so fucking purple. Ugh.
James, you alluded to this earlier too, and I think a very well-earned criticism. But just this is so passive. This one, like he's just there to witness things, and like he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's at the point where like he almost gets killed by this big fat guy multiple times throughout the story. Even on introduction. And then it just kind of goes on and on and on to the point where like allows an old woman to beat this lady up, and then inevitably allows her to be beaten and dragged through the mud, cruelly raped and shot to death while he like quivers behind some corn. Then he dispatches the bad guy. I was stunned a little, and then I was like, how am I supposed to get behind any of this? I can't get behind the story. I can't get behind the protagonist. I'm confused. And when you guys are talking about the simile, are you talking about how they do that like a contrast, like the guy comes out and shoots the old farmer, and it's the same as shooting your dad? Guys went to war on both sides, sort of.
No, I got to find it. It's a figure of speech in which it's a metaphor in which a metaphor is like you are the red rose, and a simile is you are like a red rose. And fuck, now that I'm saying it, I can't fucking find one, but they're everywhere. If you find one, Chris, let me know.
I'm kind of scanning now. No luck right now.
Oh my goodness! Like sudden death to fall upon. Okay, well that's not a good one. Anyway, I'll keep looking around, but that's what I mean. Like in the writing, there's all this figurative language. Is this particular type of figurative language is introduced a lot in a way that stood out too much. It was just going back to that well in a Alan Moore. Like I just felt I felt that this was like John Delano's attempt to do a Swamp Thing story, and for that reason was trying to write more purple in the way that Alan Moore writes, but not doing it as well.
That's funny because I was thinking like it was like a Sandman story, like his attempt at doing one, but then I realized it was Sandman hadn't really gotten underway yet.
Yeah. So the I can't talk while I'm looking for these similes, but so getting to the ghost thing, like, is it that Constantine cannot, like, his magic it's London magic. So like in this situation, like he's a foreigner. He's just sort of watching America play out. and he's scared by it and he can't do it. Like, that's kind of how I read it. Which I know, like, as a one-off story, it doesn't give you a good sense of any of the, let's say, masculine qualities of John Constantine, but it didn't. Go ahead.
What it wants to be is it wants to summon or dredge up the sort of atrocities of war and how they never really go away for these people. So basically the story is that there are these GIs. Is it just one guy or are there a bunch of them? I think there are a bunch of them in town.
Well, it's just one, I think.
It's just Frank. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's how I read it. Just one, and he's like imagining his squad with him, or he's talking like they're with. He's doing the old, I don't know, Universal Soldier.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just kind of reliving his time in Nam as these being haunted, basically. Yeah, like you said, like by these ghosts of the squad mates, but then envisioning, family members as Vietnamese, and the sort of reliving the I guess the trauma or the flashback of he was given a Purple Heart, but he was basically just this coward who fled from his unit, and I believe probably raped a woman and ran off with their radio. So it's sort of this, and meanwhile, so it seems to be like these resurrection people, like again being promised this sort of Christian magic. They're being told that they'll bring back the people who never came back. So like they do come back in the form of these ghosts, but not in the way that they want it to be. And then just all these horrors get revisited, this time on American soil.
Yeah, so I guess it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. Like I feel, or it's like The Shining. So that's pretty good. The prayer thing is happening, and it's bringing back the ghosts, but unbeknownst to them, they're bringing back the psychological ghosts, the trauma of this one particular townsperson who's also ostracized as a consequence of being the one who came back. And so there is a sort of social comment, not very strong at all, but there's like a social dynamic at play at the center of this haunted house story, where everybody resents him because he made money off the interstate. Like he's, the interstate made a ghost town, and so everybody prayed and the ghosts are coming back, but like this one capitalistic, violent individual makes it real, like reenacts this what they're actually praying for. Like it again, I'm not sure it fully hangs together, but like there's a bunch of things that aren't illogical to connect together. It's just not, it's there, and it's like, it just reminded me of a really good Twilight Zone episode or something.
That's fair. I honestly, I actually like this one. I don't know. It grew on me. It was. I think that's just me though, because you know how I am. If it's grotesque, really over the top, grimy, I'm there for it.
It really was. Yeah.
Cross some fucking lines. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We should. Yeah. Okay. Before we get to some of those cross lines, so here's an example. Overhead, ominous thunder heads gather like tumors, and then we've got his fear throbs like a boil which can only be lanced by violence.
Yeah, it's fair.
Like what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
It's just constantly happening. Anyway, those are two that I found like just sort of flipping through while you guys were talking. Well, like during the rape, like like I don't know, trigger warning
there's two rapes.
Yeah, for audience, just like they'll just be like, dirty gook, like this comic is not afraid to just drop racial epithets and the kind of thing that like you even in a Hellblazer comic nowadays, like this is raw and social in a way that is like it's not regressive in any sense, but it's also like not concerned about, like, it's not sensitive. And I'm not saying it should be. That's That's not a value judgment. It's just not. Yeah.
It's gonna
I like when
depict the horror as it should, like as it was.
Yeah, and that's when, and then John's kind of shaking in the corn stalks or whatever. He's frozen. He's not even able to move. And his wife's coming, like, his wife's finally got a hold of a firearm, and she's like, "I'm gonna kill you, Frank. I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna do it." And then he's like, "Don't talk that monkey talk to me, slut."
Yeah.
You better shoot. Wow. Yeah, like you know, because he's still whatever. He's hallucinating. He's hearing her speaking Vietnamese to him, and that's what they're not. There's not a single punch pulled. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. You know what's absolutely awful about that whole situation? I didn't realize it the first time I read it, but then that. When John first comes to town, he walks into the diner and Frank puts a gun in his face, like shoves a gun in his mouth, is gonna kill him. And like that woman saves John. She's Frank, no, don't. Like steps into the line of fire, knocks the gun away, basically, like disrupts him so that John can dive, and then like puts Frank to bed. Then like literally the tables are turned, and he does nothing.
Yeah, wow.
He's pathetic. He's not even. You don't even have to be masculine to act, you know. And I don't know what story is being told here on John's behalf, but fuck.
Well, it's like, how does his response to that? There's this lightning coming down, and he's holding his face like he's just the fat guy's gunned down his wife. Here's yours, yellow bitch. And so Constantine's laying in the corn and he's covering his eyes. He's like, oh Christ, Jesus, for a couple of that could have been me. Like he literally says that, that's cutting the deck too close to the ace of spades. You're like,
wow.
You weren't in. Yeah. You're like, okay. So are you lamenting the fact that you were in danger earlier, but you're like happy that you're not in danger now?
It's funny too. It's such a scary scene to see her, like, because the wife actually like tries to shoots him right in the thigh, and he just advances, and he's like, what, 6'3", 230 pounds. And he just slaps the gun out of her hand. He's hallucinating. He's military trained. It's horrifying.
Yeah. She shoots him in the leg, and he just like knocks the gun out. He just
walks right through it, slaps the gun out of her hand, and then just obviously like opens up a half a clip of his fucking whatever M4 on her, and then poor John sits there. They may as well have just added piss to John's pants because he's just a fucking piece of shit. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. That's right. It may as well have just given me that bright yellow right down the fucking pants as fucking Constantine walks out of the cornfield.
Oh wow.
Jesus. Yeah. Oh, I said it.
And then he just talks the guy down to.
And then he does what he could have. Yeah. Then he basically comes up with an elaborate way of participating in the hallucination, which he could have done before a brutal rape and murder of a woman. But he didn't.
Well, I feel he's kind of swept along in this as well. He does not have any agency in this story. Like, he too has been overtaken by the pyramid of prayer, and like whatever's been awoken. Like, Constantine in this particular story is at most someone who's aware that they're trapped in a story, but cannot do anything about it, except for that one moment where they're like, oh, here's a chance where I can influence the story. Here's my role, stage right. Like, there's nothing. He's conscious, but not, but without agency in this story, like almost throughout. And he's pathetic at the end, like when he like throws up the peace sign to the Vietnam vet with like no arms. I flash him the peace sign, then feel stupid because he's got no way to return it. I turn my back and walk away. That's what you're good at. That's what you're good at, John. It's just.
It's the worst. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then throwing some shade at like non-movies.
Mm-hmm.
Films that.
Yeah, what the fuck
really
is that about?
Yeah, it's really weird. But here's Delano to show you what it was really like.
Yeah. I feel like a veteran. just back from the war zone. He didn't even say the shit, so we obviously know you didn't show up there. Hell's a mirror. This place hasn't looked yet. That's kind of a byline, I think. Hell's a mirror. This place hasn't looked into yet. That's kind of that's Hellblazer all over, I think. Under Jamie Delano, and even in the Constantine movie with the mirror and the little girl. This idea that whatever social event is going on, if you hold a mirror up to it, it's hell, and then Constantine operates within that space. Maybe that might be a good way to like sum up what the character ought to be.
Yeah.
And it's an open question to me, like how I think in another universe, if I had more energy and time, there might be a podcast devoted to like tracking John Constantine over time. But I'm not the man to do that. I'm sure it exists out there. If it doesn't, please do so, someone. Yeah, but I think that basic premise maybe would hold out, and like when John Constantine is done wrong, that's why it's done wrong. It hasn't met that fundamental promise that Delano had mapped out post Alan Moore.
Now all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.